Lieutenant Amy Carter stood at the large window on the bridge of the UES Liberty. She watched the stars move slowly past as the massive ship traveled through deep space. The stars looked like tiny diamonds scattered across black cloth. Amy had seen this view many times, but it still made her feel small and amazed. The Liberty was huge. It was 3 times longer than the biggest ships that had ever flown from Earth before. The ship carried 847 people. All of them were going on the most important mission humanity had ever tried. They were going to meet aliens for the first time. Amy touched the small American flag pin on her uniform. Her grandfather had given it to her before she joined the Marines. He had worn the same pin when he served in the Army many years ago. Now, Amy wore it in space, farther from home than any human had ever been. Captain John Blake walked across the bridge. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. Everyone on the ship respected him. He had led 3 other space missions before this one. Amy had served under him for 2 years and trusted him completely. "Carter, how are our communications with Earth?" Captain Blake asked. "All systems working perfectly, sir," Amy replied. "We got the last message from Earth Command 6 hours ago. They wish us luck and are waiting for our reports." Captain Blake nodded. He looked out at the stars too. "Hard to believe we're really doing this. When I was a boy, meeting aliens was just something in movies. Now here we are, about to shake hands with beings from another world." The bridge was busy but quiet. Officers sat at their stations watching screens and checking systems. Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez stood near the power controls. He was a short, strong man who knew every part of the ship better than anyone else. Pete had built some of the ship's systems himself. Communications Officer Lisa Murphy sat at her station nearby. She was young and smart. She spoke 5 different Earth languages and had learned some of the alien language too. The aliens called themselves the Zilithians. Lisa had been practicing their words for months. "Lisa, any word from the Zilithians?" Captain Blake asked. "Yes, sir. They sent another message an hour ago. They say they are waiting for us at the meeting point. They sound careful. Maybe a little worried," Lisa said. Amy understood why the aliens might be worried. Humans had a reputation in space. Other species knew that humans fought wars with each other for thousands of years. They knew humans could be dangerous when they were angry or scared. Some aliens thought humans were too violent to be trusted. That was why this mission was so important. The Liberty carried diplomats, scientists, and teachers. They brought gifts and symbols of peace. They wanted to show the galaxy that humans had changed. They wanted to prove that humans could be friends, not just fighters. In the diplomatic section of the ship, there was a special room. The room held flags from every country on Earth. There were almost 200 flags, each one representing millions of people back home. The American flag was there along with flags from China, Brazil, Nigeria, Germany, and every other nation. Amy remembered the ceremony when they loaded the flags onto the ship. The president of Earth Council had made a speech. She said the flags showed that all humans were united now. They were going to space together as one people, not as separate countries fighting each other. But Amy still felt proud of her country's flag. She remembered her grandfather's stories about soldiers who died protecting that flag. She remembered her own time in the Marines, when she learned what the flag really meant. It was not just cloth and colors. It was an idea. It was about being free and helping others be free too. "Amy, come look at this," Pete Rodriguez called out. He was standing at a computer screen that showed the ship's path through space. Amy walked over to Pete. The screen showed their current location and the place where they would meet the Zilithians. They were almost there. "We'll reach the meeting point in about 4 hours," Pete said. "All systems are running perfectly. The ship is ready for anything." Amy nodded. She trusted Pete completely. He had kept the ship running smoothly for the entire 6-month journey from Earth. If Pete said the ship was ready, then it was ready. Dr. Paul Wright came onto the bridge. He was the mission's head diplomat. He was an older man with white hair and a calm voice. He had spent his life studying other cultures and languages. If anyone could make peace with the aliens, it was Dr. Wright. "Captain Blake, I wanted to review the meeting plan one more time," Dr. Wright said. Of course, Doctor. Let's go over it again, Captain Blake replied. The two men walked to the meeting table in the center of the bridge. Amy could hear them talking about the plan. The Liberty would stop at the meeting point. The Zilithian ships would come to meet them. Both sides would keep their weapons powered down to show they came in peace. Then the diplomats would meet on a neutral space station. They would exchange gifts and try to make agreements. If everything went well, it would be the beginning of friendship between humans and aliens. Amy hoped it would work, but she also remembered her military training. Her Marine instructors had taught her to always be ready for trouble. They said hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. She looked around the bridge at her crewmates. These were good people. Lisa Murphy had joined the mission because she wanted to help humans and aliens understand each other. Pete Rodriguez had left his wife and children on Earth because he believed this mission could make the galaxy a better place. Captain Blake had turned down a comfortable job on Earth because he knew humanity needed him out here. Nancy Taylor, Dr. Wright's assistant, came onto the bridge carrying a tablet computer. She was young and eager to help with the mission. She had studied alien cultures in school and was excited to finally meet real aliens. Dr. Wright, I have the final list of gifts we're bringing to the meeting, Nancy said. Amy knew about some of the gifts. There were books of human art and music. There were samples of Earth food and plants. There were recordings of human languages and songs. And there were the flags, representing all the people of Earth. The Zilithians were bringing gifts too. They had promised to share some of their technology and knowledge. They would tell humans about other species in the galaxy. If the meeting went well, it could change everything for humanity. Carol Stevens, the ship's head medic, walked onto the bridge. She was a kind woman who cared for everyone on the ship like they were her family. She carried a medical kit, ready to help if anyone got hurt. Captain, I wanted to make sure everyone is feeling well before the big meeting, Carol said. Thank you, Carol. How is the crew doing? Captain Blake asked. Everyone is excited and a little nervous. That's normal, but everyone is healthy and ready, Carol replied. Amy felt the same way. She was excited to be part of history. But she was also nervous. This was the most important thing humans had ever tried to do. If it failed, it might be a long time before humans got another chance to make friends in the galaxy. Rick Barnes, one of the ship's engineers, came to the bridge to give Pete a report. Rick was young but very smart with computers and machines. He had helped design some of the ship's newest systems. Pete, I just finished checking all the emergency systems. Everything is working perfectly, Rick said. Good work, Rick. Let's keep it that way, Pete replied. Amy looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien ships were traveling toward the same meeting point. In a few hours, humans and aliens would meet face to face for the first time. It would be a moment that people would remember forever. She touched her flag pin again and thought about home. She thought about her grandfather and all the people who had fought to make the world better. Now it was her turn to help make the galaxy better. The Liberty continued through space toward its destiny, carrying the hopes and dreams of all humanity. The Liberty reached the meeting point exactly on time. Amy Carter stood at her station on the bridge, watching the empty space where the Zilithian ships were supposed to appear. Everything was quiet. The stars looked the same as they had for months during the journey from Earth. Any sign of them yet, Lisa? Captain Blake asked. Communications officer Lisa Murphy checked her screens again. Nothing yet, Captain, but we're right on time. Maybe they're just being careful. Dr. Wright stood near the captain's chair. He looked calm, but Amy could see he was nervous too. His hands moved slightly as he practiced the Zilithian greeting, words he had learned. Remember, everyone, Captain Blake said to the bridge crew. When they arrive, we keep all weapons powered down. We're here to make friends, not to fight. Amy nodded with the others. The Liberty had powerful weapons, but they were all turned off. The ship's shields were down too. It was a sign of trust and peace. Amy hoped the aliens would see it that way. Pete Rodriguez called out from his engineering station. Captain, all systems are running smooth. The ship is ready for whatever happens. Thank you, Pete, Captain Blake replied. Lisa, try sending another message to let them know we're here. Lisa typed on her computer and sent a message in the Zilithian language. The message was simple. It said the humans had arrived and were waiting peacefully to meet. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. Amy started to feel worried. The Zilithians should have been here by now. What if something had gone wrong? What if they had changed their minds about meeting humans? "Captain," Lisa said suddenly, "I'm getting something strange on the sensors." "What kind of strange?" Captain Blake asked. "There are ships out there, but they're not showing up clearly. It's like they're hiding somehow," Lisa said. Amy felt her heart beat faster. Her marine training kicked in. Something was wrong. Ships that hid themselves were not coming to make peace. "Lisa, can you get a clear reading on how many ships?" "Captain," Blake asked. His voice was still calm, but Amy could hear the worry in it. "I'm trying, Captain. The signals keep changing. It's like they're using some kind of technology to stay hidden," Lisa replied. Dr. Wright stepped forward. "Captain, maybe this is normal for them. Maybe they're just being careful like we are." Amy wanted to believe that, but her military experience told her something different. Hidden ships meant danger. She looked around the bridge at her friends and crewmates. None of them were soldiers. They were diplomats and scientists and engineers. They came here to make peace, not to fight. "Captain," Pete called out, "I'm seeing power readings that don't make sense. There's a lot of energy building up out there." "What kind of energy?" Captain Blake asked. "The kind that powers weapons," Pete said quietly. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. Amy's hand moved toward her side where her weapon would have been if she were still a Marine. But space officers on diplomatic missions did not carry weapons. "Lisa, send an emergency message to Earth. Tell them what's happening," Captain Blake ordered. "Yes, sir," Lisa said. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. Then the space around the Liberty changed. Suddenly there were ships everywhere. Huge alien ships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the Liberty completely. Amy counted at least 12 ships, all much larger than the Liberty. "My God," Dr. Wright whispered. The alien ships were nothing like what humans had expected. They were dark and sharp, built for war, not for peace. Weapons pointed at the Liberty from every direction. Amy could see the alien weapons charging up, getting ready to fire. "Shields up, all weapons online," Captain Blake shouted, but it was too late. The aliens had been planning this from the beginning. While the humans came in peace with their weapons turned off, the aliens had prepared for war. The first attack came without any warning. Bright beams of energy shot out from the alien ships. The Liberty's bridge exploded in light and fire and noise. Amy was thrown backward as her station burst into flames. The ship shook like it was being torn apart. Alarms started screaming. The lights went out, then came back on red and dim. Smoke filled the air, making it hard to breathe. Amy hit the floor hard. Her head hurt and she could taste blood in her mouth. She tried to get up and see what was happening. Through the smoke, she could see terrible things. Captain Blake was not moving. His chair was destroyed, and he was lying on the floor with his eyes closed. Amy crawled toward him, but she could see it was too late. The captain was dead. Pete Rodriguez was trying to reach his controls, but his whole section was on fire. He was shouting something, but Amy could not hear him over the alarms and explosions. Then another blast hit the ship, and Pete disappeared in the flames. Lisa Murphy was still at her station trying to send messages. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her head. She was saying something into her microphone, probably trying to call for help. Then her console exploded, and Lisa was thrown across the bridge. Amy tried to stand up, but the ship was shaking too, much. More explosions came from other parts of the ship. She could hear people screaming in the hallways. The aliens were not just attacking the bridge, they were destroying the whole ship. Dr. Wright was on the floor near Amy. He was alive, but hurt badly. His white hair was covered with blood and his breathing was rough. "Amy," he said quietly, "we have to help the others." Amy nodded. She helped Dr. Wright sit up against a broken wall. Around them, the bridge was destroyed. Most of the crew stations were on fire or completely gone. The big window that showed the stars was cracked and might break completely soon. Nancy Taylor came crawling across the bridge. She was crying and her clothes were torn. "Dr. Wright, are you okay? What's happening to us?" "The aliens attacked us," Amy said. "We need to get out of here before the bridge falls apart completely." More explosions shook the ship. Amy could hear metal breaking and tearing. The Liberty was a strong ship, but it was not built to survive this kind of attack. The aliens were using weapons much more powerful than anything humans had. Rick Barnes appeared in the doorway to the bridge. His face was black with smoke and his hands were burned. "The engineering section is gone," he shouted. "Pete is dead. Most of the crew down there are dead." Amy felt sick. Pete Rodriguez had been a good friend. He had worked so hard to keep the ship running perfectly. Now he was gone along with so many others. "How many people are still alive?" Amy asked Rick. "I don't know. Maybe 100. Maybe less. The aliens hit us everywhere at once. They knew exactly where to attack," Rick said. Through the broken windows, Amy could see the alien ships. They were not done attacking. More weapons were charging up, getting ready to fire again. The aliens wanted to destroy the Liberty completely. Carol Stevens came onto the bridge carrying her medical kit. She was hurt too, but she was still trying to help others. "I need to get the wounded to a safe place," she said. "Is there a safe place?" Nancy asked. Amy thought about the ship's design. There were some sections that were more protected than others. The diplomatic quarters where the flags were kept had extra armor. Maybe some people could survive there. "The diplomatic section," Amy said. "It has the strongest walls on the ship." Another attack hit the Liberty. This time, the main lights went out and did not come back on. Emergency lights cast strange shadows everywhere. The ship's computer voice started speaking, but the words were broken and hard to understand. Amy helped Dr. Wright stand up. Rick picked up Nancy, who was too scared to walk. Carol gathered her medical supplies. Together, they started moving toward the exit from the bridge. As they left, Amy looked back one more time. Captain Blake was still lying where he had fallen. Lisa Murphy was not moving either. The bridge where Amy had worked for 2 years was now a place of death and destruction. The hallways of the ship were full of smoke and debris. Some sections were completely blocked by fallen metal and broken equipment. They had to climb over and around obstacles to move forward. Other survivors joined them as they moved through the ship. Most were hurt and scared. Some were crying for friends who had died. Amy counted 30 people in their group, 30 people out of 847. When they reached the diplomatic section, Amy saw something that made her heart hurt. The room with all the flags was damaged, but not destroyed. The flags from every country on Earth were floating in the air because the gravity system was broken. The American flag that Amy cared about so much was torn, but it was still there. It was still flying, even in this terrible place. Amy reached out and caught it as it floated past her. Commander Kate Sullivan appeared in the doorway. She was the highest-ranking officer still alive. Her uniform was torn, and she had a bad cut on her arm, but she was trying to take command. "Everyone listen to me," Commander Sullivan said. "The aliens are sending us a message. They want us to surrender completely, or they will finish destroying the ship." Amy held the torn American flag against her chest. She thought about her grandfather and all the soldiers who had fought to protect what that flag meant. They had never given up, even when things looked hopeless. "What are we going to do?" Nancy asked. Commander Sullivan looked around at the small group of survivors. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I just don't know." Outside, the alien ships waited like hunters around wounded prey. Inside the Liberty, the survivors faced a choice between surrender and death. Amy Carter sat in the corner of the diplomatic room, holding the torn American flag. Around her, 30 survivors tried to treat their wounds and figure out what to do next. The ship was quiet now except for the sound of broken systems sparking and the soft crying of scared people. Commander Kate Sullivan was trying to contact other parts of the ship using a handheld radio. The main communication systems were destroyed, but maybe some of the emergency radios still worked. "This is Commander. Sullivan calling any survivors, please respond, she said into the radio. Static came back for a few seconds. Then a weak voice answered. Commander, this is Rick Barnes. I'm in Engineering Section C with about 20 people. We're trapped but alive. Amy felt a little hope. More people were alive than they thought. Maybe there was still a chance to do something. Rick, what's the condition of the ship? Commander Sullivan asked. Bad, Commander, really bad. Main power is gone. Life support is working in some sections but not others. Most of the weapons are destroyed. The engines are offline, Rick replied. Dr. Wright, who was sitting against the wall with a bandage around his head, spoke up. Commander, we need to think about the alien offer. Maybe surrender is our only choice. Amy looked at the flag in her hands. She thought about what surrender would mean. The aliens had attacked without warning. They had killed hundreds of innocent people who came in peace. If humans surrendered now, what would stop the aliens from doing this again to other human ships? I don't think we should give up, Amy said quietly. Everyone looked at her. Nancy Taylor, who was helping Carol Stevens treat the wounded, shook her head. Amy, look around us. The ship is dying. Most of our friends are dead. How can we fight? Ships that big with weapons that powerful? Amy stood up slowly. Her body hurt from the explosion on the bridge, but her mind was getting clearer. Because that's what they expect us to do. They expect us to be scared and give up. Commander Sullivan frowned. Amy, I understand how you feel, but we have to be realistic. We're outnumbered and outgunned. Yes, ma'am, but we're not out of ideas, Amy said. She walked to the broken window and looked out at the alien ships. They were just sitting there, waiting. They thought the humans were beaten already. They thought it was over. Carol Stevens finished bandaging a young officer's arm and came over to Amy. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about something my Marine instructor used to say. He said the enemy's greatest strength can also be their greatest weakness, Amy replied. What do you mean? Dr. Wright asked. Amy pointed at the alien ships outside. They're so sure they've won that they're not being careful anymore. Look at how they're positioned. They're not expecting us to fight back. Rick Barnes's voice came through the radio again. Commander, I've been checking the ship's systems. Some things are more damaged than others. I might be able to get partial power back to a few sections. Which sections? Commander Sullivan asked. Maybe the observation deck, maybe one of the secondary weapon systems. And I think I can restore emergency power to the maintenance tunnels, Rick said. Amy's heart started beating faster. An idea was forming in her mind. It was crazy and dangerous, but it might work. Commander, I want to try something, Amy said. What? Commander Sullivan asked. The aliens are recording everything, right? They want to show the galaxy how they defeated the humans. They want to broadcast our surrender, Amy said. Yes, probably, Dr. Wright agreed. Then let's give them something different to broadcast, Amy said. She tied the American flag around her waist like a belt. The torn fabric moved slightly in the recycled air of the ship. Amy, what are you planning? Carol asked. I'm going to get to the observation deck. If Rick can restore power there, I can access the ship's emergency transmitter. Maybe I can send a message that will reach other ships, Amy explained. Commander Sullivan shook her head. That's impossible. The route to the observation deck goes through sections that are destroyed or full of alien soldiers. Not if I use the maintenance tunnels, Amy said. Nancy looked scared. Amy, those tunnels are narrow and dark. Some of them might be damaged too. And what if you get trapped? Amy smiled for the first time since the attack. Then at least I'll be doing something instead of just sitting here waiting to die. Dr. Wright struggled to stand up. Amy, even if you reach the transmitter, what message will you send? Earth is too far away. No one can help us in time. Maybe not, Amy said. But other species are watching this too. If they see humans fight back instead of giving up, maybe they'll think differently about us. Carol Stevens packed some medical supplies into a small bag. If you're really going to do this, take these. You're hurt worse than you think. Amy took the bag. She also picked up a small emergency radio and a portable light. The maintenance tunnels would be completely dark. Rick, can you hear me? Amy said into the radio. Yes, Amy, what do you need? Rick replied. I'm going to try to reach the observation deck through the maintenance system. Can you guide me? Amy asked. There was silence for a moment. Then Rick said, Amy, that's really dangerous. Some of those tunnels were damaged in the attack. I know. But will you help me? Amy asked again. Yes, Rick said. I'll do everything I can. Commander Sullivan put her hand on Amy's shoulder. Lieutenant, I can't order you to do this. It's too dangerous. You're not ordering me, ma'am. I'm volunteering, Amy replied. Amy moved to the maintenance hatch in the corner of the room. The hatch was small and square, just big enough for one person to crawl through. She opened it and looked inside. The tunnel was dark and narrow, but it seemed intact. Amy, wait, Nancy said. She handed Amy a small device. This is a signal booster. If you get to the transmitter, this might help your message reach farther. Amy put the device in her pocket next to the medical supplies. Thank you. She started to climb into the tunnel, then stopped and looked back at her friends. If something happens to me, don't surrender. Find another way to fight back. That's what humans do. Dr. Wright nodded slowly. Good luck, Amy. Amy crawled into the maintenance tunnel and began moving through the dark space inside the ship's walls. Behind her, she could hear Commander Sullivan talking on the radio, trying to organize the other survivors. The tunnel was cramped and uncomfortable. Amy had to crawl on her hands and knees, pushing her supplies ahead of her. The portable light showed metal walls and pipes and electrical cables. Some of the cables were broken and sparking. Rick, I'm in the tunnel system. Which way do I go? Amy whispered into her radio. Go straight for about 50 meters, then turn left at the first junction, Rick replied. Amy crawled forward slowly. She could hear sounds from other parts of the ship. Sometimes it was the sound of metal creaking as the damaged ship settled. Sometimes it was voices speaking in the alien language. The aliens were inside the ship now, searching through the wreckage. After what felt like a long time, Amy reached the junction Rick had mentioned. She turned left and kept crawling. This tunnel was in worse condition. Part of the ceiling had fallen in, and Amy had to squeeze through a narrow gap. Rick, I'm having trouble. In section B7. The tunnel is partially collapsed, Amy reported. Can you get through? Rick asked. Amy shined her light ahead. There was just enough space for her to squeeze through if she was very careful. Yes, I think so. She pushed her supplies through the gap first, then followed them. The sharp edges of the broken metal scraped against her back, but she made it through. On the other side, the tunnel opened up into a larger space. Amy could stand up for the first time since entering the maintenance system. She stretched her sore muscles and checked her radio. Rick, I'm in a larger area now. Where am I? Amy asked. You should be near the junction that leads to the observation deck. Look for a ladder going up, Rick said. Amy found the ladder. It was a narrow metal ladder that went up through a vertical shaft. She put her supplies in the bag Carol had given her and started climbing. As she climbed, Amy could hear more alien voices. They were getting closer. The aliens were searching the ship section by section, looking for survivors. Amy had to move faster. At the top of the ladder there was another hatch. Amy opened it carefully and looked out. She was in a corridor near the observation deck. The corridor was dark and full of smoke, but it seemed empty. Amy climbed out of the maintenance system and moved quickly down the corridor. The flag around her waist moved as she walked, reminding her why she was doing this. The observation deck was just ahead. If Rick could restore power there, Amy might be able to send a message that would change everything. She thought about her grandfather and all the people who had fought for the flag she wore. They had never given up when things looked hopeless. Amy was not going to give up either. She reached the door to the observation deck and tried to open it. The door was locked, but the locking system had no power. Amy found an emergency release and pulled it. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the observation deck was dark and cold. The big windows that normally showed the beauty of space were cracked and dim, but the emergency transmitter station was still intact. Rick, I'm at the observation deck. Can you give me power? Amy asked into her radio. Working on it now, Rick replied. Give me 2 minutes. Amy waited in the dark, listening for the sound of alien soldiers coming closer. Outside the cracked windows, the alien ships waited like patient predators. The lights on the observation deck suddenly came on. Rick had done it. Amy quickly moved to the emergency transmitter and started turning it on. The machine made soft beeping sounds as it powered up. "Rick, the transmitter is working. How long do I have there?" Amy asked into her radio. "Not long. The aliens will notice the power surge. Maybe 10 minutes before they find you," Rick replied. Amy's fingers moved quickly over the transmitter controls. She had learned how to use this equipment during her training, but she had never used it in a real emergency before. The transmitter screen showed that it was ready to send messages. Amy could broadcast on many different frequencies at once. Some would reach Earth, but that would take too long to help. Others would reach alien ships that might be listening. Amy thought about what to say. This message might be the last thing humans ever said to the galaxy. It had to be the right words. She pressed the record button and began to speak. "This is Lieutenant Amy Carter of the Earthship Liberty. We came here in peace to meet with the Zilithian people. They attacked us without warning and killed most of our crew, but we are still here, and we are still fighting." Amy paused and looked out at the alien ships through the cracked windows. They looked so powerful and confident. To any species listening to this message, I want you to know something about humans. We don't give up. We don't surrender when bullies try to hurt us, and we don't let anyone kill innocent people without fighting back. Amy could hear footsteps in the corridor outside. The aliens were getting closer. The Zilithians think they have won. They think humans are weak. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Amy sent the message on all frequencies and started the transmitter's automatic repeat function. Now her words would keep broadcasting even if something happened to her. The footsteps were getting louder. Amy grabbed her radio and moved away from the transmitter station. "Rick, they're coming. Are you ready for the next part?" Amy asked. "Amy, this is crazy. Even if I get power to the weapons, we only have one shot before they destroy us completely," Rick said. "One shot is all we need," Amy replied. Amy moved to the other side of the observation deck where there was another control station. This one controlled some of the ship's defensive systems. If Rick could get power to the right places, Amy might be able to do something the aliens would never expect. The door to the observation deck opened. 3 alien soldiers came in. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They carried weapons that looked much more advanced than anything humans had. The aliens saw Amy and started talking to each other in their own language. Amy could not understand the words, but she could tell they were surprised to find a human still fighting. One of the aliens pointed his weapon at Amy and said something in broken human language. "You surrender now." Amy stood up straight and looked directly at the alien. The torn American flag around her waist moved slightly as she breathed. "No," Amy said simply. The alien looked confused. He probably expected Amy to be scared and beg for her life. Instead, she just stood there calmly, ready to fight. "Rick, now would be good," Amy said into her radio. Suddenly, lights came on all over the observation deck. The defensive control station powered up. Amy quickly moved to it and started typing commands. The aliens raised their weapons, but Amy was faster. She activated the emergency blast doors, trapping the aliens in a section of the observation deck away from the controls. "Rick, I need weapons power," Amy said. "Working on it. The main systems are too damaged, but I might be able to get power." "To laser battery 7, Rick replied. Amy looked at her control screen. Laser battery 7 was one of the Liberty's smaller weapons, but it was in a good position to hit the alien ships. Through her radio, Amy could hear other survivors talking. Commander Sullivan was organizing people in the diplomatic section. Carol Stevens was treating more wounded people. Nancy Taylor was helping coordinate between different groups of survivors. "Amy, we're getting reports from all over the ship," Commander Sullivan said through the radio. "The aliens have soldiers searching every section. They're trying to capture everyone still alive." "Not if I can help it," Amy said. The weapons control screen showed that laser battery 7 was getting power. It was not much power, but it might be enough for one shot. Amy looked out at the alien ships. There were 12 of them, all much bigger and stronger than the Liberty. But they were positioned like they thought the battle was already over. Their shields were not at full power because they did not expect any more fighting. Amy chose her target carefully. The largest alien ship was in the center of their formation. It was probably the command ship where their leader was giving orders. "Rick, how much power can you give me?" Amy asked. "Maybe 60% of normal. It's not enough to destroy a ship that big, but it might hurt them," Rick said. Amy smiled. "Sometimes you don't have to destroy something to beat it. Sometimes you just have to surprise it." She aimed the laser at the command ship's main weapon system. If she could damage their biggest gun, maybe it would make the other ships more careful. Amy pressed the fire button. A bright beam of energy shot out from the Liberty and hit the alien command ship. The beam was not as powerful as usual, but it hit exactly where Amy wanted it to hit. The alien ship's main weapon exploded in a bright flash. The explosion was so big that it damaged other parts of the ship too. The command ship started spinning out of control. All the other alien ships started moving at once. They had not expected the humans to fight back. They had thought all the weapons were destroyed. Amy's radio crackled with excited voices from other parts of the ship. "Amy, that was amazing," Nancy Taylor said. "You got them good," Rick added. But Amy knew the real fight was just starting. The aliens would be angry now. They would come at the Liberty with everything they had. "Everyone listen to me," Amy said, into her radio. "The aliens are going to attack again, but now they know we're not giving up. That changes everything." Amy looked at the control systems around her. Most of them were damaged, but some still worked. She had an idea that was even crazier than everything she had done so far. "Rick, can you get power to the ship's tractor beam?" Amy asked. "The tractor beam?" "Amy, what are you thinking?" Rick replied. "I'm thinking about something my grandfather told me. He said sometimes the best defense is a good offense," Amy said. The alien ships were moving into attack positions again, but this time they were being more careful. They had learned that the humans were still dangerous. Amy worked quickly at the controls. The tractor beam was designed to grab and move objects in space. Usually it was used to help with docking or to move asteroids. But Amy had a different idea. "Amy, the aliens are charging their weapons again," Commander Sullivan reported. "No, but let them come closer," Amy said. The nearest alien ship moved toward the Liberty, probably planning to destroy the observation deck where Amy was hiding. The ship's weapons were glowing as they charged up. Amy waited until the alien ship was exactly where she wanted it. Then she activated the tractor beam at full power. The beam grabbed the alien ship and started pulling it toward the Liberty. The alien pilot tried to break free, but the tractor beam was too strong. Amy smiled as she watched the alien ship struggle. "Rick, can you overload the tractor beam generator?" "You want me to what?" Rick asked. "Overload it. Make it explode," Amy said. "Amy, that's insane. The explosion could destroy both ships," Rick warned. "That's the idea," Amy replied. Rick was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Okay, Amy. If you're sure about this." Amy looked out at all the alien ships. They had come here expecting an easy victory over weak humans. Instead, they had found something they did not understand. They had found humans who would rather die fighting than live as slaves. "I'm sure," Amy said. She could hear Rick working on the tractor beam generator through her radio. Other voices came through too. All over the ship, the surviving crew members were preparing for whatever came next. Dr. Wright's voice came through the radio. "Amy, your message is being received by ships all over this part of the galaxy. Everyone is listening." "Good," Amy said. "Let them hear what humans sound like when we fight back." The alien ship in the tractor beam was getting closer to the Liberty. Its weapons were almost ready to fire, but Amy's plan was almost ready too. "Amy, the generator is going to overload in 30 seconds, Rick reported. Amy looked at the torn American flag around her waist one more time. She thought about her grandfather and all the people who had fought for what that flag represented. They had never backed down from bullies, no matter how big or scary the bullies were. "Rick, tell everyone to brace for impact," Amy said. The tractor beam generator started making a high whining sound. The alien ship was trying desperately to break free, but it was too late. Amy pressed the emergency release on the tractor beam. The alien ship, suddenly free, shot forward toward the Liberty at high speed. At the same moment, the overloaded generator exploded. The explosion was huge. It lit up the space around both ships like a small sun. The alien ship, caught in the blast, was torn apart. Pieces of it flew in all directions, hitting other alien ships. The Liberty shook violently from the explosion, but the ship held together. Amy was thrown to the floor, but she was still alive. Amy Carter stood in the damaged observation deck, watching the alien ships through the cracked windows. 3 of their ships were destroyed or badly damaged. The others had pulled back and were talking to each other using bright signal lights. "Amy, are you seeing this?" Rick Barnes called through the radio. His voice was excited. "Ships are coming, lots of ships." Amy looked out into space and saw new lights appearing in the distance. Ships were arriving from different directions. Some she recognized as human designs, but others looked completely different. "Rick, who are they?" Amy asked. "I'm not sure about all of them, but I can see at least 2 human ships, and there are others. Ships I've never seen before," Rick replied. Dr. Wright's voice came through the radio. "Amy, your message worked. Other species heard what you said. They're coming to help." Amy felt hope growing in her chest. But she also knew the fight was not over yet. The alien ships that attacked them were still dangerous. They still had more weapons and more soldiers than the Liberty. Commander Sullivan's voice came through the radio. "Amy, the alien commander is trying to contact us. He wants to talk." "Put him through," Amy said. A new voice came through the radio. It spoke human language, but with a strange accent. "Human ship Liberty, this is Admiral Vextar of the Zilithian Warfleet. You have caused damage to my ships." Amy picked up her radio and spoke clearly. "This is Lieutenant Amy Carter. You attacked us without warning. You killed innocent people who came in peace. We defended ourselves." "You were supposed to surrender," the alien admiral said. "Your species is weak. You should have given up." Amy looked down at the torn American flag around her waist. She thought about Captain Blake and Pete Rodriguez and Lisa Murphy and all the other good people who had died. They died because this alien thought humans were weak. "We don't surrender to bullies," Amy said. "And we're not weak. You're about to find out just how strong humans can be." More ships were arriving every minute. Amy could see them on the observation deck's damaged sensors. Some were big warships. Others were smaller, but they all looked ready to fight. Rick's voice came through the radio again. "Amy, I'm getting messages from the new ships. One of them is the U.S. Defender, Captain Johnson commanding. They want to know what our situation is." Amy smiled. The Defender was one of Earth's newest and most powerful warships. Captain Johnson was famous for never losing a battle. "Tell Captain Johnson that we're alive and we're fighting. Tell him the aliens started this war, but we're going to finish it," Amy said. Through the radio, Amy could hear Rick passing along her message. Then she heard a new voice. It was strong and confident. "This is Captain Johnson of the Defender. Amy Carter, I've heard your message. The whole galaxy has heard it. You've done something amazing here. Now let us help you finish the job." Amy felt proud but also sad. So many of her friends were dead. The Liberty was badly damaged and might never fly again. But they had done something important. They had shown the galaxy that humans would fight for what was right. "Amy," Commander Sullivan called through the radio, "the alien admiral is demanding that all the new ships leave. He says this is between him and us." Amy laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who was tired of being threatened. "Tell Admiral Vextar that he made this about more than just us when he broadcast. Our attack to the whole galaxy. Now everyone gets to see how it ends," Amy said. The alien ship started moving into attack formation again. But now they faced many more enemies than just the damaged Liberty. Human ships, alien ships from other species, and even some ships Amy did not recognize were all moving to protect the Liberty. One of the strange new ships sent a message. The voice sounded like music when it spoke. "Human Amy Carter, this is Captain Zilandra of the Melody People. Your words of courage have touched our hearts. We stand with you." Another ship sent a message too. This voice was deep and rough. "Lieutenant, Carter, this is War Chief Grom of the Iron Clans. Your people fight with honor. The Iron Clans will fight beside you. More and more messages came from ships Amy had never seen before. Species she had never heard of were pledging to help defend the Liberty. Her message had traveled across space faster than she ever imagined, and it had changed everything. Amy, Dr. Wright said through the radio, do you understand what you've done? You've united dozens of species against the Zilithians. This is the biggest alliance in galactic history. Amy understood, but she also knew the fighting was not over. The Zilithian admiral was too proud to retreat now. He would rather fight all these ships than admit he was wrong to attack the Liberty. All ships, this is Admiral Vextar, the alien commander announced on an open frequency. The humans must be destroyed. Any ship that protects them will be destroyed as well. Amy picked up her radio and responded. Admiral, you have one chance to surrender. You attacked innocent people. You murdered diplomats who came in peace. But if you surrender now, we won't destroy you. There was silence for a long moment. Then the alien admiral laughed. Humans offering mercy to their superiors? You are even more foolish than we thought. Then you've made your choice, Amy said. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Zilithian ships were powerful, but they were outnumbered 3-1. Ships from a dozen different species fought together to protect the Liberty. Amy watched from the observation deck as bright beams of energy crossed space in all directions. Ships moved and turned and fired their weapons in a deadly dance among the stars. The Defender led the human ships in a coordinated attack on the largest Zilithian vessels. Captain Johnson's ship was fast and strong, and his crew knew how to fight. One by one, the Zilithian ships were damaged or destroyed, but it was not just the human ships that impressed Amy. The Melody People's ships moved like they were dancing, avoiding enemy fire while delivering precise attacks. The Iron Clan's ships were tough and relentless, taking hits but never stopping their advance. Amy, look at this, Nancy Taylor called through the radio. She was in the diplomatic section watching the battle on a portable screen. Ships are still arriving. More species are joining the fight. Amy realized that her message was still broadcasting automatically from the emergency transmitter. New ships were hearing it and coming to help. The galaxy had heard a human woman refuse to surrender to bullies, and they wanted to be part of that story. The battle lasted for 2 hours. When it was over, 8 Zilithian ships were destroyed and 4 others were badly damaged. Only Admiral Vextar's command ship was still in fighting condition, and it was surrounded by 40 ships from 12 different species. Admiral Vextar, this is your final chance, Amy said into her radio. Surrender now or be destroyed. This time. The alien admiral's voice was different. He sounded tired and defeated. Human Amy Carter, you have surprised us. We yield. Cheers came through Amy's radio from all over the Liberty. The surviving crew members were celebrating their impossible victory. They had been attacked without warning, lost most of their friends, and faced certain death. But they had never given up, and now they had won. Captain Johnson's voice came through the radio. Amy, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. You and your crew have changed galactic history. Amy sat down on the floor of the observation deck, suddenly feeling very tired. The torn American flag was still tied around her waist, but it did not look torn anymore. It looked like a battle flag carried by warriors who had refused to surrender. Rick, how many of our people are still alive? Amy asked. 112, Rick replied. Out of 847. Amy closed her eyes and thought about all the people who had died. Captain Blake, who had led them with wisdom and kindness. Pete Rodriguez, who had kept the ship running until his last breath. Lisa Murphy, who had tried to call for help even as the bridge exploded around her. They were gone, but they had not died for nothing. Their sacrifice had led to this moment when the galaxy saw what humans were really made of. Dr. Wright's voice came through the radio. Amy, representatives from 15 different species want to meet with us. They want to form a new alliance based on the principles you talked about in your message. What principles were those? Amy asked. Standing up to bullies. Protecting the innocent. Never surrendering when you're fighting for what's right, Dr. Wright said. Amy smiled and touched the flag around her waist. Her grandfather would have been proud. 3 days later, Amy stood in the main conference room of the space station where the peace talks were being held. She wore a new uniform, but the same torn flag was carefully preserved in a frame on the wall behind her. Representatives from dozens of species sat around a large table. They were creating something new, an alliance of worlds that would protect each other from bullies like the Zilithians. Admiral Vextar sat at the table too. He had been defeated, but he was not destroyed. The alliance believed in mercy for enemies who surrendered. It was one of the principles Amy had talked about in her famous message. Lieutenant Carter, said Captain Zelandra of the Melody People, we have chosen a name for our new alliance. We will call it the Carter Coalition, after the human who showed us what courage looks like. Amy shook her head. With respect, Captain, it should not be named after me.